Hey everybody, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here. Don't forget to subscribe. Today I want to talk about airlines here in the United States because I personally think they want to sell our biometrics to third parties. They're doing this under the guise of efficiency, but hear me out here. And here's what's going on. There's a really good write-up on The Hill about this, and here's what's happening. A group representing several major airlines, on top of travel companies as well, and airports, is opposing a Senate bill that would require the TSA, that's the Transportation Security Administration, to generally use manual ID verification at security checkpoints instead of facial recognition. If you're a frequent traveler like I am, you're seeing more and more biometrics being used. Put your face in front of the camera, take a picture, et cetera, to validate that. So this Senate bill, which was introduced by Senator Jeff Merkley, he's a Democrat of Oregon, would broadly restrict TSA's ability to use biometrics and facial recognition, essentially carving out exemptions, though, for things like TSA PreCheck, trusted traveler programs like Global Entry and Nexus, et cetera. Passengers, for the record, may still opt in to use facial recognition at these checkpoints if they wish, as opposed to opting out by default, right? Opting in is the better way. So, this past Monday, in a letter sent to Senators Ted Cruz, Republican of Texas, and Maria Cantwell, Democrat of Washington, the airline industry group basically said that the law was a quote-unquote step backwards and that facial recognition technology made security screenings far more efficient. Quote, the future of seamless and secure travel relies on appropriate use of this technology to ensure security effectiveness and operational efficiency as daily travel volume continues to rise. We are concerned that the vague and confusing exceptions to this blanket ban will have major consequences for the identity verification process, screening operations, and trusted traveler enrollment programs. Now, Senator Cantwell and Cruz are the parties' respective highest-ranking members on the Senate's Commerce Committee, Science and Transportation as well, and so they're scheduled basically to really start marking up this bill very shortly. Now, in addition to limiting the use of facial recognition, Senator Merkley's bill would also require the TSA to delete most images collected at checkpoints within 24 hours of a passenger's departure. Travelers going through a TSA checkpoint are generally able to opt out of facial recognition, according to the agency. And yeah, we can, but then it's a nightmare. You're delayed, you're waiting. I tried it once. All this, it adds more time. It kind of gums up the line, et cetera. So yeah, it's really not that efficient to opt out in that sense. So we should be opting in by default. Senator Merkley argued that the agency's enforcement is inconsistent, posting on his social media this past February about his difficulties navigating this policy at Reagan International Airport. That's the one in D.C. So the airlines, however, warned that restricting use of facial recognition could slow down security and divert TSA resources towards maintaining officer staffing rather than focusing on automated innovations. So I say all of that to say that I do think that we should not be using facial recognition by default. We should be basically having manual checks. And part of it is not the security side of it. A good part of TSA's job is indeed security theater. People have been able to pass through a whole bunch of different stuff through TSA over the years. There was a study at Boston Logan years back in the wake of 9/11 where even though TSA was really vigilant and on alert, people were able to pass weapons through Boston Logan, et cetera. So I say all of that to say that I think the core argument here is not that basically the airlines think this is more efficient basically for security. And it may actually be. I think what they're trying to get at is selling our biometrics that are being collected by TSA. And let me tell you why. So I have done basically 2 podcast /video/radio segments in the last few months about this. The last one I did, which a couple of weeks ago, was about the airlines using artificial intelligence, starting with Delta, to actually set prices for tickets, meaning they're looking at your entire travel history. They're getting information on you when you buy the ticket. Is it 2 days before flight? Is it 6 months before flight? All this kind of stuff, eventually pairing with biometrics. Are you heavier? Maybe you need a more expensive ticket. Are you lighter? Maybe you don't. These are the kinds of things I think they're moving towards. But in May of this year, 2025, I also did a segment called Airlines Are Selling Your Data to ICE. And if you didn't know, most of the major airlines or carriers here in the United States, as well as some foreign ones like Lufthansa and some others, have basically created this third-party organization where they are feeding all of our passenger data basically into this and then essentially selling it to the government. And so if essentially we have a scenario where they are getting more and more biometrics on us, they're going to want to have that information because they could purchase that information from TSA. Obviously, there is cross-sharing here. If they're selling to ICE, why couldn't ICE sell to them or TSA sell to them? On top of it, then they'd have biometrics to pair with the artificial intelligence to help set ticket prices, and therefore this becomes a profit center. And so I think this is essentially where this is going. And so I applaud the fact that this is both a bipartisan effort in the Senate, but also a push that we are starting to see. And it's not just coming from Senator Wyden, who's usually on the forefront of these things. I'm glad it's coming from a different senator. And quite frankly, this is another privacy issue that we are going to have. You know, the government has all of this data on us left and right, and if they are continuous to add our biometrics, especially if they're taking pictures of you over the years, they can now basically have an understanding of how you're aging, then apply that to artificial intelligence and say, well, this person is gaining weight rapidly or losing weight rapidly or aging rapidly or whatever. And the AI is going to figure out some kind of calculation to charge us more. And I think that's why they want to do it. So in my opinion, I think this is what this is. I think it's less about efficiency, more about profit centers for them. But nevertheless, from a privacy standpoint, we should absolutely be able to opt in to facial recognition, not use it by default. And if you didn't know, TSA has been caught keeping these pictures way longer than they're stated. I think it was like 30 days or whatever. I did a segment on that a while ago as well. And so having a limit to 24 hours and then having that audited, not just stating it, but actually having that audited by a third party, I think is the name of the game here. So I'll leave it at that. This is absolutely, I think, a great idea. This is a pro-privacy bill. I think we should all be basically behind this and not behind the airlines on this one because, quite frankly, I don't think it's going to make anything that much more inefficient. I've been traveling literally for years, all over the map, all over the globe, for my job. And you know what? I've had plenty of efficiency without the need to take my picture. So there we are. You tell me what you think. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP. And please feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well. And as always, stay safe, stay online, and please, please, please attempt to stay private, informed, and secure. Take care.